fine. Come on, boys. Just one more time.
This is indeed a disturbing universe.
Hello, greetings, and welcome. Welcome to the Stereo 999 YouTube channel. I am your host, the artist formerly known as Stereo Steve, and I'm kicking it here with my pal, Mr. Gopher. Say hi, Mr. Gopher. Hi, Mr. Gopher. Last week, I did the first 10 in my list of 100 psychedelic songs I wanted to talk about. And for this video, I'm going to just go down a list and do the next 10 psychedelic songs. And what we got here is, I'm just going to get right into it. This is US 69 is the name of this band. This record came out on the Buddha label. The album's called Yesterday's Folks. And the song I want to talk about is called 2069. A Spaced Odyssey. A Spaced Oddity. I think this is before David Bowie that they called the song A Space Oddity. Though I could be wrong. This last song, this final song though, the album closer, it's got like backwards effects and just a really trippy song structure, just kind of hypnotic, you know, catchy chorus going la 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 la, and it's just got that kind of otherworldly psychedelic sense of urgency, like I was talking about before, but more of a laid back, you know, more of a stoned, laid back quality than an urgent quality. But then, halfway through this 8-minute long song, it kind of morphs into a droney soundscape and just kind of continues on this droney ambient soundscape for the last 3 minutes of the song, which I think that's kind of ahead of its time, you know, for the 60s. And it doesn't sound forced. It just sucks you into it because you're grooving with the song and suddenly you're like floating in this soundscape before you know it. And it's a great song. All right, next we've got 10,000 Words in a Cardboard Box by Twink from the album Think Pink. Twink, of course, being John Twink Adler, the drummer who played with the Pretty Things. He also played with Tomorrow with Steve Howe, and player of many instruments, and very, very, very stoner. John Alder. Is it Alder or Adler? It says Alder on the cover. But, you know, a lot of little drug references here. Rock and Roll the Joint. Mexican Grass War. This is the A Karma pressing on the pink vinyl. But, yeah, 10,000 Words in a Cardboard Box, which I think is a song he did priorly with a different band, and then did it solo on this album. And it's got you know, it's got that catchy psychedelic groove to it. It's got fuzzy guitar. It's got vocals through a filter that are kind of hard to decipher, and you know, it's got that English psychedelic, just perfect verse, chorus, verse, jam structure. I don't know what else to say about it. So we're going to move on to the next one. And again, we get into some electronics. This is another thing where it's going to be a big name band, but not the big hit song. This is Cellophane Symphony by Tommy James and the Shondells. Title track of this album, and we've all heard Crimson and Clover. Cellophane Symphony is a 9-minute long instrumental track with a lot of droney synthesizers, a real solid, just slow, dirgy groove, and it just hits the spot when you're just stoned and want to just drift off. And you've probably seen this in bargain bins and passed it by many a time. But yeah, don't snooze on buying Cellophane Symphony because then you'll miss out on the pleasure of snoozing while you listen to it. Speaking of music that's ahead of its time, these guys, it's right on the label. I'm 5 years ahead of my time by the third Bardo. It was originally on that Pebbles compilation that I showed. Well, it was originally the single that the band put out, but I originally heard it on the Pebbles compilation. And we got this big 10-inch record of, I guess, 6 songs. I guess they only put out a few singles, so this is everything in a little mini 10-inch album on the Sundays. But yeah, this is one of those tracks from the time where garage rock starts to get psychedelic. The guitar riffs, the themes and subject matter of the songs, like Lose Your Mind and The Dawn of Tomorrow, and just being a forward-thinking, futuristic, but with that snotty garage rock attitude at the base of it. The third Bardo. I'm 5 years ahead of my time. And what time would that be? That would be 7 times infinity. This record, and this is a really nice, thick vinyled Gearson reissue of this, original is super rare. And a lot of people call this band Creation of Sunlight. But it turns out the band actually called themselves Sunlight, and Creation of Sunlight was the album title. But, it's hard not to file it under C. But the song that's the real banger off this album is 7 Times Infinity. It's just got a nice heavy rock riff and some organ and guitar, and it kind of treads the line again. It's like a little more late 60s sounding to really sound like a garage rock song, but it's got a solid riff that'll stick in your head. It's got the earworm ability. And I first heard of this album because I was at a record fair, and I was talking to somebody about how much I loved Apple Tree Theater and Chrysalis. And I asked this guy, I was like, are there any other psych records that are just not typical psych records, but just kind of special like that? And he said this and Auto Salvage. And most of this record kind of reminds me of Strawberry Alarm Clock, which we're going to get to a little later. But there's some bangers. There's some good puns. There's a song called Hammond Eggs, which is like the Hammond organ. But 7 times Infinity is a banger. That's all you need to know.
It's the sounds of Christmas '78, Sam. Skaggs, your Christmas toy headquarters.
When it comes to holiday gifts, Herta's Discount Warehouse has an endless supply at the best prices. We've slashed prices on everything, including our 12 special gifts of Christmas, like this RCA programmable stereo VHS recorder for just $309, or this RCA camcorder with accessories for as little as $41.63 a month. It happens at Herta's with guaranteed best prices on stock merchandise. Highland between Sahara and Spring Mountain, open Sundays until Christmas.
At a time like this, you probably don't care that we use only carefully selected hops, or the finest grains, or pure artesian brewing water. But you'd taste the difference if we didn't. So we do. Olympia. It's the water, and a lot more.
Yes. And like I said before, big name bands, but not necessarily the big hit song, which brings us right into Strawberry Alarm Clock, Incense and Peppermints. Everyone has heard Incense and Peppermints a million times, but that's not really the song that I'm going to talk about. What I'm going to talk about first off is that Incense and Peppermints sounds different from all their other songs because they had a guest vocalist sing on that doesn't sing on any of their other stuff. So none of the other Strawberry Alarm Clock songs really sound like that. But what I wanted to talk about, though, is the opening track. The opening track on this album, it's called The World's on Fire. And right now, the fucking world is on fire. So this is an apropos song to bring out. And it's an 8-minute long jam. And again, it's got that heaviness, that sense of urgency, that build up. Ripping guitar solo from Ed King, who went on to join Lynyrd Skynyrd later on. There's some trivia for you. But anyway, this is another one, you know. Don't snooze on this album. The rest of it does not sound like, I mean, Incense and Peppermints, you don't even get to it until like way down on the second side. But you get some rockin' Strawberry Alarm Clock, and this is my happening, and it freaks me out. And The World's on Fire, all 8 minutes and 22 seconds of it are on my list of top psychedelic songs. All right. Standells. Dirty Water, Sometimes Good Guys Don't Wear White, etc., etc. You know, kind of a template of snotty garage rock. But keeping with the psychedelic theme, the Standells track that I selected for this list is Medication. And it's kind of a metaphor because they make it about a girl, you're my medication. But it's also trippy enough to be about medication. And yeah, I think I had the actual album a long time ago. I think the one original Standells record I have is the one. Oh, this is they did a reunion. When did they do this? 2011. They did kind of a reunion show, and I got a little signed poster that I stuffed in the record. So I'll just show that, and you know, short song, so I'll talk about it for a short time, and we'll move on. All right. And SRC, next song here. SRC from Detroit, which is Scott Richardson Case. It's the initials for the front man of the band. And they were from Detroit. They made, like 3 albums. I have 2 of them. I think he just passed away recently, so rest in peace. But this is, you can tell by the glossiness of the cover, this is a reissue of the first SRC self-titled album on Capitol. There was a Record Store Day colored vinyl, but this is not that. Black Sheep is the song, and it's got the catchiness, and it's got the fuzziness. The way I described this band to somebody like way back was, it's like the Zombies, but with more fuzz guitar and organ. So if you like the Zombies and you like heavy fuzz guitar and organ, you will dig this band. And Black Sheep is a great song. I think that was the single off of this album, but it's a goodie. All right. I feel like I'm not like in-depth analysis. I think I'm just saying, oh yeah, this is a good song, blah, blah, blah. But you know what? It is a good song and blah, blah, blah. Right, Mr. Gopher? Okay, so here's another good song. This one, I was listening to underground, radio late at night one night, and this song, the intro with the scrapey tremoloed guitar before the rest of the band kicked in, just blew my mind. I knew I was in for a trip. And this is My Friend Jack by The Smoke on the Morgan Bluetown label that also put out like Pussy Plays and some other stuff like that. This is, I think, the most famous record on Morgan Bluetown. This is some kind of 90s like reissue compilation. It's not the actual band, but I mean, it's not the actual album. I think it's called It Smoked. But anyway, there were several bands called The Smoke. I could think of 3 of them off the top of my head, but this is the English one from the 60s, and the song My Friend Jack is totally one of those kind of English pop with not so subliminal drug messages, my friend Jack eats sugar lumps. And yeah, so it's got that catchy kind of, it's like if Herman's Hermits took LSD and broke their brains. And yeah, but it's got this sick echoey guitar, and it's got a catchy chorus, catchy melody, and it's just kind of perfect. I started with a track that was ahead of its time with its use of electronic sounds, and also Cellophane Symphony was a track that was ahead of its time with electronic sounds, and no conversation about psychedelic music that was ahead of its time with electronic sounds is complete without mentioning Silver Apples. And they might have been the first electronic duo. because they were Dan Taylor on drums and Simeon with playing his electronic contraptions, and they were a duo. And the song I'm going to mention is Love Fingers. That song kind of took on a life of its own because it has a fat drum break that's been sampled a few times, and it turns up in a lot of playlists alongside more modern stuff because it was very ahead of its time. But yeah, back in high school when me and a friend of mine first discovered this record, again from some like late night radio, and my friend said, yeah, it's kind of like the Smothers Brothers meets the Residents, because they're singing in these harmonies. I mean, not quite Simon and Garfunkel, they're singing about some trippy stuff, and then it's like the sounds of the engine room of the Starship Enterprise as accompaniment. And back then it was hard to really convince people about this record. It wasn't until the 90s. In the 90s, a lot of bands were citing this as an influence, and it finally got reissued, and they were able to make kind of a comeback, and yeah, but Silver Apples from the Moon. All right, well, thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your comments, and if you want to guess what songs I'm going to be coming up with next, or if you have suggestions or curious whether or not one of your favorite songs is going to be on this list as I continue to do this over the next however many videos I end up making, going down this list, let me know in the comments. And show and tell.
Show and tell, just a game I play when I want to show you some records. So like and subscribe, and you'll see them next time too. Oh.
Stop. 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 Stop.
Your Audi is fond of music and owns many records.